What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Lotto Bound podcast, the NBA Draft Show featuring myself, Chris LeBron, and my guy, Corbin. Corbin, it's been a minute, man, but I'm excited. We had, life happened. You know what, how that goes. We need to work. We got to take care of the kids. We got to take care of the wife. Things there, and we always text you like, "Yo, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it one day. We're gonna get back. We're gonna get back in the lab." And we finally figured something out this week, and we were like, "Yo, let's just do it." And you said, "Oh, I'm off today." I'm like, "I'm off." Bam, got time. Boom, and we hit it, and we are here. And man, I'm excited, brother. We'll get back on the grind. NBA draft season is upon us as we enter March Madness, and we're going to talk about a lot of things March Madness, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite prospects that will be participating in the NCAA tournament. But Corbin, my man, how are you doing?
Yo, I'm always happy to be on, man. It's good to be back. Like you said, life's been lifing, but we here, right? I love talking ball, love talking draft prospects. I'm happy to be back on this with you and get this thing going. So I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
All right. Yeah, man, I'm ready to get back. I said, I love the NBA draft. I love evaluating prospects. And so it's like, let's do it. But let me ask you something. Before we get into some of the prospects that we're most intrigued about heading into the NCAA tournament, how much has your board changed as far as maybe your top 10 from September-ish to obviously going into March? Has it changed much? Is it a lot of drastic? Has there been a guy that you had relatively high that you have maybe dropping a lot farther, or vice versa, a guy who's you maybe didn't even think about that's now in like your lotto bound, in your lotto radar? Is that I like playing words and all that. It has had. Do you have guys like that have had that significant drop or rise for you?
I've been pretty fortunate because my top 10 at least has been pretty stacked, not stacked. Pretty, I don't want to say stagnant, but pretty set. There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like at the top 10, I'd say 1 through 4 has been pretty consistent. It's Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, or not in that order. Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. That's been the 4. The 5 through 10 has definitely shuffled a bit for sure, as I've kind of battled my own basketball philosophy with some of the consensus and whether I think this guy would be good at the certain team fit. And as you see teams kind of fall and that lottery order sort of solidify, okay, would this be a player picked in this range for these sets of teams? That's kind of been the evaluation process I've gone on. So yeah, it's definitely been a little bit interesting more through that 5 through 10 range. When you get to like a Trey Johnson, a Kalamach, all those guys.
Mm-hmm. So who's been someone in particular that has made that rise for you?
So speaking of Trey Johnson, he's definitely been someone who's moved around for me because his scoring has been amazing. That's why he was on my radar in the first place. But I was trying to see, can he do more than that? And I don't know if I've gotten the answers I was looking for there, but he scores so well. Another guy that's been on my list is Conkanupple, who I wanted to say, okay, I know you're an off-ball shooter. I know you can do that. I know you are somebody that can knock down threes at a good clip. He's shooting almost 40%, 6 threes a game. Like, that's solid. Can you do more on ball? Can you kind of initiate offense from the second side? Is there more levels to your game in that way? How does your defense stand up? Are you a gamer like that? And honestly, yeah, he's a college defender. He's a guy who plays hard. He has some competitiveness. Like, he may not be the quickest of feet, but he gets after it. And I love what he's done, especially in certain games without Cooper Flag, where yes, he can create some offense. Not someone you say, hey, just give it to Khan and let it go for a whole game, but for stretches at a time, he's been able to do that. So those two are guys that have really risen up my list. The last guy I'd bring up is Derek Queen. Who's such a funky player. I like it though.
He's someone for me, Corbin, that I've been trying to figure out. Okay, it's like this. What you see is like, okay, he's dominating, but I'm like, how does that translate to the next level? And I've been going back and forth trying to figure out, because I know, okay, he's not a crazy good athlete. He doesn't have the the great foot speed, but then I'm like, but he's just a good basketball player. So maybe I'm just overthinking it with him.
It almost, I mean, they're not all the same. It almost remind me of what last year with he was like an NCAA tournament hero, DJ Burns. Remember him?
Yeah.
NC State. Like, it's like, okay, like that works there. Like that works in college. And even
Exactly.
in college, it was surprising because body type and everything, but it works in college. But how much can you pull away from that to see, okay, will this work in the NBA? And for DJ Burns, not a whole lot. He's still, having a career overseas. You love that for him. Maybe get some NBA time or a chance at some point, but like, how much of what he's doing in college is applicable, right? And you're talking about a 6'9" guy who's not really a great rim protector, but so offensively skilled, but only really in the low post, has a nice mid-range game, doesn't really shoot the three, so it's kind of really a stretch guy. It's just so interesting but he's a great passer, high feel for the game. It's just like you said, getting a feel for it, because it's almost like contradictions, but it's so neat. But he's somebody that I've gone back and forth on whether I feel high about him, whether I don't feel high about him, whether he's going to be someone who can make a real case, to be drafted in the lottery or not. Ultimately, I'm going to say you get a playmaking big man who, is able to, get buckets down low and still finish. I think you go for that, and we worry more about the defense and other things a little more later down the line.
And you mentioned Concanipple because he's one. Obviously, I was high on early, and I'm a Duke fan, so I got to watch a lot. I watch a lot of his games, and then I saw a lot of clunkers. I saw a lot of 0 for 8s. There was one when Kansas game, with him, him and Flag were the real spotlights of that. That's the late game stuff with Flag. People were harping, but I was like, what about Con? Like, Con's not making any shots, and if he's not making shots, then how can I think that he's a top 10 guy? And then as conference play went on, he started to get more confident with his shot, and then he started to be more confident, being aggressive, getting to the basket. And I was like, okay, there's more to his game. On top of the shooting, and now he's close. He was like a 40% three-point shooter for the year. So the three-point shooting got improved, and the creation. That was the thing. I was like, oh, he can create off the dribble. He can get to the basket. Like, he's still not the greatest athlete, but he was aggressive. He got more aggressive as a player. And I was like, okay. And then there's some playmaking there. So I was like, okay. So he's someone it started off high, and then I dropped him, and now he's back where I kind of had him before, because I'm like, okay, I've seen enough that the shot is there, and I knew I was pretty confident the shot, but it was for a while. I was like, I don't know, he's shooting in 30s. I was like, I wasn't sure, and then it eventually came back, and then I saw more of the aggressiveness get into the basket. I was like, okay. I feel good about him now. So where I have him now I feel that's where I'm like, okay, this is where I wanted him to be, and he's there. So with Con, he was one of those guys for me, went up and down, but now he's back where I kind of had him before. So he's someone that is, definitely benefited from Cooper Flag a lot and took the most advantage, especially when Cooper was out this few games. He still played well. So
I like that, though. That's what's beautiful part about this process is more looking guys, you refine it, you continue, go back and forth, and it's a thing that happens over time. And before you know, here we are.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about some guys that we like that are going to be, in trying to win a national championship. So Corbin, you go first. Who will give me a few guys that you like, that will be dancing?
All right, so yeah, first off, I have to pour one out for my guys at Rutgers. Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. Like, I knew there was zero chance after about midway through the year, but I still really wanted to see them cook. I wanted to see if Ace Bailey could raise his level. I thought he had some good games, kind of faltered a bit toward the end of the year, but I was really hoping for him. Dylan Harper had a rough stretch between illness and, injury, but really wanted those two to have a shot. It's unfortunate that that's not going to be a thing for them. But hey,
I'm so. But there was almost a shot where we could have. Obviously, the Rutgers guys, unless they won the Big Ten tournament, they were not going to get it. But there was a chance we might have not seen a Trey Johnson. We might have seen a VJ Edge come. Like, there was a point where we might have not seen like 4 of the top 5 guys in the draft, not in the tournament, which would have been crazy. But Baylor got in. We got guys, we got them in, so we're going to be able to see those. Jeremiah Fears too, another one. Potentially almost wouldn't get in, but at least we got some guy because it could have been. It could have been a world with none of those guys, and I think the committee kind of knew that too. Like, we can't have all guys that might be top 10, not be. Yeah, we got to get some of them in.
That is very true. I'm glad they made the right call. But going to a guy that isn't. I kind of mentioned him a little bit before. In fact, there's gonna be one or two guys I've already mentioned that I'll talk about here. But VJ Edgecombe, 6'5" freshman from Baylor, fourth in ESPN's top 100. They're playing Mississippi State on Friday, which I will try to be sneaking in to watch because I'll be working. But
Nice.
but I really want to see how Edgecombe continues to grow. He's really been strong for the Bears the second half of the season. Obviously, he is one of, if not the most explosive guy out there. Like, is it just the ability to jump the way he is, end-to-end speed? Like, it is really, really good. I think what I really want to see is kind of more the focus on the soft skills, the ball handling, right? The shooting's not bad. It doesn't look bad, but it's definitely been touch and go, interesting, low 30s, mid 30s from three. How consistent can that be? But I really want to see that ball handling and his game on the ball. What does that look like? Because I think a lot of that will kind of say, okay, if he'll be more or less team fit dependent in the NBA draft, depending on what scouts and such see coming up now. Is he a guy who can, like I said, make plays with the ball on the weak side? Is he a guy, second side ball handler? Can he, at least take over offensive stretches just to get the ball up the court and you into your offense? Or is he just a straight up play finisher? If he is, no big deal, but that does kind of limit, okay, here, like maybe if you are a Philadelphia or Charlotte, then you're like, hey, that's the kind of guy we want, right? We don't mind that because we have other guys he could play off of, right? And capitalize on that. If you're maybe Utah, or trying to think of another team that will probably be in the lottery. Utah, Toronto, maybe not. Toronto because they have so many dang wings, but also they don't need that player, and he doesn't provide any extra utility outside of what some of the guys already do. So I think you have to look at teams, a little bit more specific, depending on Edgecombe's ability to kind of handle the rock, and even if not so much the ability, the upside that is there.
Yeah, no, he's someone he's been on my radar for a minute because I had written a piece on him back when he was at Long Island Lutheran out in Long Island in New York, and this was before he was even he was ranked, but I think he was probably like a 3-4 star, but and I started writing about him like, yo, people need to watch out for this kid, like he's legit. And then he obviously he rose, and he was obviously a top 5 recruit in the country, and I was really into him because Duke, being a Duke fan, he was on point. He was going to be a Duke Blue Devil, and obviously with Flag, reclassifying, that changed some things. But yeah, he's a very intriguing kid. He's very skilled. And some of the things we probably want to see is if he can, create off the dribble, on top of with the ball handling too. So there's some things but yeah, he's definitely made the improvements from early in the season, especially from three. Like he was struggling a lot from three early in the season. He was shooting, I think, like high 20s at one point, and he got it up to a respectable mark now, and just looked like a better player as the season went on, which sometimes we don't see that. We tend to see the opposite, and he got better as the season goes. So that was really good to see from him. He's going to be very, very intriguing to see where he goes and see if he is going to be the team that he's team dependent. Some of these prospects we know that could fit anywhere. You put Flag with any team, and he's going to fit in because he's like that ultimate, glue guy type, which is crazy to think from a guy number one pick that could be like an ultimate role player. And I don't use that as like a disrespect, but like he could be like he could do everything, Flag. So like some guys are that, but all right, my guy I'm looking forward to is a guy who's, and we mentioned before, right? We talked about earlier on the show that we're looking, what guys have made the biggest leaps on our boards. This guy has made, he probably wasn't someone I thought this, maybe he would be, he would be in college for a few years. Okay. And it looks like he's going to be a one and done guy. And that's Jace Richardson from Michigan State. He's made a monster leap, where he's in my top 10, Corbin. He's in my top 10 right now.
Wow.
He's in my top. I would take him top 10. I think, especially if he has a really good run in this tournament, I think it's lock. So yeah, for me, I'm looking. he's one of my most intriguing guys because he's made a massive leap, and his game has just been electric. Absolutely electric. He could score in the mid range. He could finish at the rim. The lefty game. There's that moments he. I don't like comparisons. I really don't like doing comparisons, player comps.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, okay, I see some Brunson in him. I see some Jalen Brunson.
Oh, okay.
I see some Brunson in him, and I'm like, he's just so creative at getting at the basket. He's very patient, and just he knows how to get to his spots. He's not an above a rim type player, and it's just very it reminds me sometimes of Brunson. With the stop and go stuff that he does, the pull ups, the little floater. It's very, very Brunson to me. So he's one of the guys I'm really looking forward to. And I think if he has a run that I think he could have, and I just did a podcast with my guy, Kev, and Get a Bucket podcast where we went through our picks for March Madness, and I have them going to the national championship. So if that's the case, that means he had a big reason for that. So that's my guy. I'm going to go with one of my guys I'm looking forward to watching in this tournament, and just Jace Richardson. It's like he wasn't highly, he wasn't like a top 5-star guy, but for him to make the leap he did, from I think he's probably going to be a 2-3 year guy, like typical Michigan State guys, right? They're usually there for a few years. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to break the mold. He's one and done. I think if he has, and the way I think they're going, I think he's going to be a big reason why I think they go to the national championship. They lose the national championship to Duke, of course, but they get there. Yeah, Jace Richardson for me. I think he's made so much improvements, and once he got implemented into the starting lineup at Michigan State, that's when they started rolling. So Jace Richardson for me, that's my one of my guys I'm looking forward to for this tournament.
I like it. He's a pro. Like his
pops, he's second generation too. Obviously, we know Jace Richardson, one of the best high flyers in NBA history. So he has the bloodlines too.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say for sure. And he's, although I do wonder about his measurements because he does seem kind of small, like a little light in the shorts, right? But he is somebody that can effectively on both ends, shoots the ball real well. His pop shot the ball at the ball at times too. So you definitely have that for him too. Yeah, definitely with you on that. I like him for sure. My second guy, again, other guy already mentioned here, but we definitely want to go into a little bit more. And they actually play as of recording. They play later on tonight. That's Trey Johnson.
Xavier, right? Xavier?
Yes, I think. Let me see. I think so. Yes, Xavier. Yep, you nailed it. So that's an 11-11 matchup. It's on True TV, so check that out. But but yeah. Well, by the time people listen, probably over at that point. But the point being, that will be a game that I'm looking forward to watching here in a few hours. And I think, again, he's a guy who you had a load of SEC. The guy averaged almost 20 points a game, right? That's the good news. Bad news, didn't really shoot well from the field. Under 45% from the field? Not great. Closer to 40 than he was to 50. Not great. Yeah. Dude's a big-time shot maker. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. That's my type, right? That's my guy. Like, if you can go give me a bucket, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And I think there's utility there. I think, obviously, you want to have more to your game than that. But if you're able to come and say, hey, ball up top, give it a Trey, he's going to make something happen. He's going to get you in that pull-up midi. He's going to get to the rim, get some free throws. He's going to bomb away from three. It gives you so many options, offensively, putting the ball in the basket. That's what I gravitate to. And I'm like, that's what I want to see. Now, again, that's the good. That you see, I've only said that because there's nothing else. I really, want to see his passing improved during the year, but you're not going to give him a few secondary ball handler. And you definitely won't get him confused with the main guy for your offense. So that's the thing. Defensively, like that's it. That's the word. Not a whole lot.
We're not drafting him for defense. We know that.
No, exactly. If you need a bucket, Trey Johnson will get you a bucket. If you need a clutch pass or a great stop, Trey Johnson will get you a bucket. But I want to see if he can do more. And I guess that's what I'm looking forward to. I think he's somewhere in the top 10, like we talked about. Like in my mock draft, he definitely is. I think I have him 6th. But you have a chance right now. We know how the tournament is. You make a case, you make a good game, a stretch of good games you can definitely do here right now. And all of a sudden, your draft stock can rise. Now, no one's going to get mixed up with a top 3 pick. Yeah. He can really challenge for top 4. And I think that's something that's in play for him if he can really pull it all together. So, I don't expect him to turn to a totally different play overnight, but I am curious to see if he is going to be able to kind of show more depth to his game in these high pressure situations.
100%. With a guy like that who not afraid to shoot it, right? And we've seen some. I think he had a game where he was 0 for. Am I confusing him with Fears? Like maybe I'm confused. They're both they're both up to shoot, but I think he had a game where he had some 0 for 12, some big 0 for games. With a guy like that who loves to shoot it and takes a lot of shots that you probably would not like for him to take. Do you think he can fix that at the next level? Do you think you can tame that?
I think in the right context, yes, I do. I think in the right context you can, because there's going to be certain teams where he's not going to be able to do that.
Exactly.
If you look at other guys who have had, if you look at other guys who have been in similar situations in terms of, hey, in college, they're the guy and they're taking all these shots. And then, you wake up and smell the coffee on an NBA team and realize that, I'm sorry, you're not that guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of bucket getters in college had to find ways to be a spot up kind of guy or have more of a less defined role. For every Paolo Banchero, there's a Jabari Smith Jr., right? Like you just have those guys that have to come in and adjust because you're not the main guy, So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it personally. I think that he will be either that or he'll be like a scoring guard off the bench for a certain team. I think Mox have him like 9 or 10. So, I think it's, yeah.
He's in that like 6 to
10 range.
10, 11 range.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So right now that'd be like Philly, Toronto, San Antonio, Chicago, Miami. Miami probably would like a Jace Richardson better if he's in that same range. But
I think Miami, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's depending on where they fall, right? But if you are Miami, you're probably coming off the bench. If you're Chicago, kind of depends. There you might have a chance at 2 guard, but you do have Kobe White there if you put him into the point. Depends what you do. I think the big question is what you do with Josh Giddey personally there as a playmaker. But
I think they're going to bring him back. So
yeah, so then that probably takes him off the bench, right? If you do him and Kobe White in your backcourt. San Antonio, I don't know. I mean, right now they had Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox starting, so I guess there is room after 2. Devin Vassell's around there, but we'll see. Toronto, I mean, they got like 3 wings, right? You got Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickly. He's coming off the bench. Philadelphia, don't know. Same thing. Depends on what you think about Paul George.
I just saw him. I'm looking at a mock right now, and I see Philly, and I'm like, okay.
If Paul George is at 3, then I guess you have opening at the 2.
You got Jared McCain coming back.
Oh, that's true.
Tyrese Maxey.
That's still a small backcourt if you start Maxey and Johnson. And
there's a lack of defense in that potential trio backcourt if you have that, because they have them. I'm looking at it, and it was on NBA.com, and they have Trey Johnson going to Philly. I'm like, I understand, but I was like, man, a trio of those 3 defensively, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
So he might be someone that's really team dependent too, or he's one guy where I'm not saying he falls, but I can see him maybe not be going later, maybe in a late lottery, and maybe that benefits him best. Maybe he goes to a team with a little bit more structure, and can teach him, maybe. I think that maybe that's best for him than going to, one of these teams where he might get lost in a shuffle,
Yeah.
So he can learn how to be a more efficient player. It's hard to teach. It's hard to change guys. It really is. But, maybe going a little bit later in the lottery might be, more beneficial. If he goes to to Houston, I know they're loaded with a bunch of young guys. Or Atlanta, something like that. Orlando. I mean, Orlando could be perfect for him. They need They need as much scoring as humanly possible.
Yep. In the worst way.
So he might be a guy that's team dependent. But maybe going a little bit later might benefit him in the long run. But he's definitely someone. I got a guy here. Who's not in. He's not someone that's high. Not going to be a top pick.
Okay.
But to me. But to me, his draft stock has gone through the roof to this season. And that's Zion James from Duke.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Someone coming in, he was a transfer coming in. I think he went to Tulane, right? I could be wrong.
I think so.
But hadn't I don't think anyone thought of him as an NBA prospect, but this year he's a prospect, and I think he's getting drafted. He's 6'6", 220. He is a pit bull. Wow. Corbin, he's a pit bull on defense, but he gonna get on you. He gonna get. And guess what he did? He shot the ball really good from three this year. Shot over 40% from three, and it was able to make some touch. And they have the belief in him to run the point. When things weren't going well, they were like, all right, we're going to put the ball in your hands. And they gave him the chance to have the rock in his hand. And he did a good job this season, and a big reason why their defense was so elite this year. They got a bunch of guys, with Malik Brown, Cooper, and Zion that can lock up, Proctor too. But to me, Zion James, benefited so much from this season. And I think if he has a strong tournament, I mean, I'm already seeing a bunch of people having him, in the 45 to end, the 59, because there's obviously there's one less pick because the Knicks tampered with it was the Brunson thing, I think. Well worth it. Well worth the tampering.
They'll take that.
Well worth tampering. If it meant we lose a second round pick, I'll take it. I think our Knicks fans are very happy with that. But yeah,
worthy trade.
Worthy trade to lose a second round pick for Brunson. But Zion James to me is someone I'm looking forward to and a prospect. I think he's gonna have, if he has a nice run, I think he can definitely be a lock to get drafted. Right now, I see guys are getting in them on their boards, especially in the second round. But I mean, Zion James, man, his defense. But we always knew he could play defense, but it was the offense, and his ball handling has improved mightily, and the shooting has been solid. So I think he's someone that I have on my, and he's in my top 50, and I think a nice run can potentially get him higher.
Hey, there you go. We got a little development there for sure. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then one of my last guys I want to bring out here, but another guy like you in terms of not being a first round, you'll probably get in the first round, not a high first round pick, but definitely someone who's moved up draft boards, definitely someone who has intrigued me. And I really kind of want to see what he looks like, in this tournament. But that is Danny Wolf from Michigan. Listen, he's so unique. Like, he is the best pick and roll player in this draft class.
Oh, agree.
At 7 feet, right? And it's almost like Derek Queen. Like, you have these intriguing offensive skills that work really well in college and could work well in the NBA. And you also have some weaknesses that are already there in college and are going to be definitely apparent in the NBA. And so that's what makes it such an interesting paradox. That's the word I'm looking for. Not contradiction, paradox. But you have a guy in here, my librarian brain's coming out now, but you have a guy in Wolf who, he can shoot the ball. I think he's making like 34% of his threes, so he has stretchability. The fact he can handle the ball and play up the pick and roll as the ball handler, in addition to probably being the roll man, is such a unique, versatile, just ability, right? He makes, great passing in terms of the passing lanes and getting guys open and kind of floor mapping in that way. And, he protects the rim pretty well as well. And so you have a 7-footer with all of that. That looks amazing. Now, his shot looks a little funky. I'm not want to talk about funky shot. I got one myself, so I don't really judge. I'm like, hey, if it goes in, it goes in, right? And
that's my thing, man. That's they said this about Tyrese Halliburton coming out of Iowa State. The shot looks weird. I was like, hey, man, the Knicks drafted Kevin Knox a few years before that. He has one of the most prettier shots in the league. It didn't go in.
Where's Kevin?
So at the end of the day, does it go in? Yep. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
There you go. Exactly. Thank you for amen to that. Exactly. So, that's what I'm big about. If the shot's going in, we got no worries. If it's not going in, because the main point is, are you not shooting? Is that pristine, picture perfect form, classic Dale Ellis from the 80s? No one cares. It's the shot going in. If it's not going in, then we have an issue. So I guess you can wonder about that. And I guess this is where the next problem would be. It goes in from 3, but it's only shooting 62% from the free throw line. Not great. Right, so that does give you a little bit of a worry. His speed's not great, and as great passers do, for as good of a passer as he is, his turnover rate's high. So that's something to consider. But at the end of the day, listen, I like a funky fit player like that. I think he has it in his bag to be a really impactful player in this tournament. We'll see when they play UC San Diego Thursday. So that's going to be big. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But at the end of the day, I want to see that shot go down. I want to see him make a big impact. He's already had a great season as a junior, and we'll kind of see where he continues to go.
Okay, yeah, he's he's someone that's definitely another riser for me on my board too, because he's definitely an intriguing prospect. And Michigan doesn't have the greatest guards, but him and Vlad, I think can do enough to maybe make a run at Michigan and do some things this tournament. They've looked a lot better, this year than they did the last few years. So definitely an intriguing prospect. All right, my last one, and we'll do one more before we head out. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. I have three guys here that I'm thinking about, but I guess I'm going to go with the guy who's won the back-to-back national championship, and that's Alex Caravan. He's someone who came back to school, and a lot of people thought he might be a first-round pick last year, and he came back, to obviously improve his skills and get better. And I think he might drop a little bit. I think he may be further down in the second round, but I think a good run in this tournament. And they go off with a bang the first round. They play Oklahoma. Yeah, right? Do they play Oklahoma? Right? Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's Oklahoma. So we could talk about Jeremiah Fields on the other end too, who can really, stock with a good game, if he has a monster game. But yeah, Alex Caravan, he has the size you want in a wing and that can shoot. All right. Not the greatest, defensive wise, but if he can continue to shoot the lights out the ball this tournament, he can maybe back into the first round and get back to that maybe potential first round stock, or definitely be in the top end of the second round. So for me, I'm looking forward to see if he can, because right now they're not the UConn of the last 2 years, right? We know that they're not the dominant. They don't have the Klingon. They're not the Sonogos.
Blood's in the water.
Yeah. So but they still have a shot. It may not be the best shot, but I think if they do make a potential run, it's going to be because Alex Caravan does his thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do because he's someone that I really liked last year, and had some moments this year, struggle a little bit, but it feel like he's been himself, and has the size you want as a wing, especially playing in our second unit. Where he can, catch and shoot, and hit some threes. So Alex Caravan, I'm looking forward to watching in this tournament because he's intriguing, and I think he has a nice run. I think he can continue to improve his stock and get back to maybe where he was, at the, some people, like I said, some people thought he was a first round pick. That's why some people were surprised he came back, but, wanted to work on some things and, a nice run, and maybe he could get back in the first round, scenario. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's had, like you said, he's someone that this would help him because, he came back. Yeah, he's had an okay year. You know what I mean? Definitely didn't move up a lot, but he also didn't move a whole lot back. But again, we talked about this, the power of a strong performance in the tournament that can sway a lot of minds. A little bit of recency bias, a little bit of high pressure situations, and you thriving in that, all of a sudden, look where you take it. I mean, we've seen so many draft picks off the strength of a really good run. So yeah.
Who you got for your last one?
My very last one. You know what? It's tough. Let's go Derek Queen. We talked about him before. They played Grand Canyon this weekend, or I think it's Friday. He is the focal point for Maryland's offense. We know this. So he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to do a lot of initiation. How he's going to play when the defense is really keyed on him over, each game and extended stretch, right? Especially, with his ability, he does have put the ball on the floor and attack on different spots. That's going to be tested. I'm sure defense is going to be keyed in, going to have doubles in different spots, even with the production, or you're going to have to produce on the other end as well. He puts a lot offensively. He's been kind of knock on his defensive side. One game, win or go home, you're going to have to try to play some defense. That's going to be a thing you do. So this tournament spotlight is going to be big for him. I think also, if he's able to come in out the gate and be, wow, you cannot stop this guy because he is, beasting in the post. He is hitting the short midi. He is diming people all over the court. He cannot be schemed against, and on defense, he's holding his own. Well, then that's great, right?
Yeah.
If defensively, there's some real issues there, and offensively, okay, he can be stopped in a certain way. When the defense really keys on him, and his lack of relative touch from around the basket or outside of the paint can be kind of mitigated. Like there's certain things that you could look at and go, okay, those would be question marks. But honestly, if he's able to come in and like I said, Grand Canyon's gonna be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. My pops went up there. Shout out to Grand Canyon, so I'm looking forward to it to see what that game looks like. But ultimately, hopefully get past Grand Canyon and we see a tougher matchup and better production for him. I don't think Maryland's gonna win it all per se, but at the same time, like if he's able to come in and dominate, then hey, we look at a different light, especially since already in my top 10, he's in that swing area where if he's doing a little bit better, it can add to, okay, maybe we're talking about like 7 or 8. Falls down, maybe we're talking 11 to 13. Like it's definitely a sliding scale with him.
Yeah, and Grand Canyon has a good defense too, so it's not like he's going against a slouch. They can play some defense, so they're going to be an intriguing matchup for sure. But Corbin, we're going to keep this one short and sweet. We're going to have some more episodes. Like I said, we're going to be on here a lot more down the line. We'll be talking about talking about a lot more prospects, and get more heavy into the draft as we get closer and closer to the draft. So Corbin, tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, I appreciate you, bro. It's fun to get back after. I'm looking forward to a lot more of these. Y'all can find me on social media at Corbin NBA. That is CORBAN NBA. I work with the Center Hub, do some work with Swish Theory, my podcast, Indie Basketball, myself and my co-host Conrad. I have a lot of fun talking. I mean, we're getting back into it now, but talking NBA, WNBA, EuroLeague, we cover it all, college. And so it'll be fun. We got to have you on there one time, Chris, a couple times.
Sure, man.
Fun on that for sure. Yeah, man. So definitely make sure to tune in for that. But that's on social media at Corbin NBA, CORBAN NBA.
Yes, sir. And you can follow me on Off the Ball Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I do TikTok lives, been doing a lot more of that the last few weeks. Check me out on there. Make sure to check out, like I said, we're going to have a lot more episodes of Lotto Bound Pod talking about a lot more of the NBA draft prospects. Check me out, Off the Ball Podcast and Get a Bucket Podcast. We're talking about all things March Madness with my co-host Kev. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care, enjoy tomorrow's game and the rest of March Madness, guys. All right? Take care.